I think it's obvious from the latest statements from Vladimir Putin that Putin and his cronies are in denial of how bad things are going for them. What we have to remember about the Russian government or the regime in the Kremlin, it's not like an ordinary functioning democratic government as we have in the UK for all our faults and as we have in other parts of Europe. It is effectively a mafia. It is a criminal organization, and within every criminal organization, the leader is only secure for as long as they hold power through absolute fear. And it would seem that the events of this weekend have significantly weakened Vladimir Putin. There are a lot of people wiser and more experienced than myself are talking about this being the beginning of the end for Putin. One of them is Garry Kasparov, the former great chess grandmaster, who is one of the foremost members of the Russian democracy movement. He, of course, lives in the States. He is in exile from Russia, and he is one of many people that has talked about the beginning of the end for Putin, and this has weakened Putin significantly. And I think one of the very interesting things to follow in the coming days and weeks is what side the soldiers on the ground will decide to take and who they will decide to follow, given that Putin has obviously been weakened. The Ukrainians, everything I'm hearing, are on the right track, and what has happened over the weekend is the funniest thing that I heard was people saying that the shops in Kyiv had run out of popcorn because, of course, people were buying in the popcorn to sit back and watch what was happening with great, I think the German word is Schadenfreude, taking delight at other people's misfortunes. Now, definitely Russia's difficulty is Ukraine's opportunity. So this is good news for Ukraine, but I would urge caution and not to jump to any conclusions. But I think the main thing to take out of this is clear evidence that Russia is a failing and a failed state. I think it's obvious from the latest statements from Vladimir Putin that Putin and his cronies are in denial of how bad things are going for them. This war was supposed to, this further invasion was supposed to take Kyiv in 72 hours. It didn't. The Ukrainians started by winning the battle for Kyiv. They have been taking land back since the end of last summer. And this weekend, for the first time, we have seen a number of settlements in the Donbass being liberated for the first time since the Russian invasion started in 2014. So this is massively significant, and it's massively significant in the context of a counteroffensive, which, my view, and from talking to people, has not really got fully underway yet. What has been explained to me by senior Ukrainians is that what is happening at the moment, and has been happening for the last 2 or 3 weeks, has been shaping operations. They have been probing and they have been measuring Russia's strength at various points of this front line, which is some 1,200 kilometers long. So yeah, I mean, to summarize, I think the fact that Putin or Shoigu or anybody else who are not specifically talking about this, I think we can take it that they are very uncomfortable, that they are really feeling the heat, and I would go as far as to say that they are quite possibly in denial as to what has happened, and maybe finally realizing that this was a catastrophic mistake, not just for them, but for the Russian people, to launch this massive further invasion of Ukraine back in February 24th, 2022. I think we are yet to see the effects of the coup seep through to the effectiveness of Russia's fighting forces on the front line. But clearly, Russia is struggling. A weakened Putin is somebody who has less and less control over his generals and his various supporters within the Kremlin mafia organization. We've obviously seen that most obviously with what Prigozhin has done. Should we worry about this? On balance, I think not. I think this can only further weaken Russia's military assault on Ukraine. There is always the worry of Russia's nuclear threats. Again, the vast majority of military men and very experienced diplomats and Russia watchers do not believe it is likely that Russia would resort to nuclear weapons, because the result for Russia, if they were to do that, would be absolutely catastrophic. This war has gone badly almost from day one. It can only be seen now as a catastrophic mistake for Putin to do this. And this was the subject of much of Prigozhin's rhetoric over the last 72 hours. And in fact, Prigozhin giving the lie to the Russian claims that there was ever genocide of the Russian-speaking minority, which was one of the lies which Russia put about to justify the war. And, Prigozhin has come out now and said, this was never the point. He has also said that Russia has consistently underestimated or underreported the casualties they've taken. I think Prigozhin said by a factor of 10 to 1. I said earlier to you that according to Ukraine's Ministry of Defense, and they have put out enemy casualty numbers from day one, and the last time I looked yesterday, they had crossed 225,000 Russian soldiers have been killed. And our own Secretary of Defense, Ben Wallace, said back in February that probably as much as 97% of Russia's armed forces are now committed on Ukrainian soil. So Russia and Putin, I think, are running out of options.